It happened on an ordinary Tuesday morning in downtown Chicago. Emily, a young receptionist at a mid-sized tech firm, was walking to work when she noticed an older man collapse near the entrance of her building. Without hesitation, she rushed to help him, staying by his side until the ambulance arrived. Later that day, she was called into her manager's office and fired for being late. Emily was devastated, but the next morning, something unbelievable happened. The man she had helped walked into the office, and he wasn't just any man. He was the owner of the entire company. The entire office went quiet. Emily froze in her seat. The man, now dressed in a crisp suit but still with a faint bruise on his temple, looked around the room before his eyes met hers. "You," he said, pointing gently, "you're the one who helped me." Emily nodded, still in shock. Her former co-workers glanced at each other, unsure of what was happening. The HR manager, who had let her go just the day before, shifted uncomfortably in her chair. The man stepped forward. "My name is Richard Bennett. I own this company," he said, his voice calm but firm. "And yesterday, when I collapsed outside, no one else stopped, except her." The room was silent again. Emily didn't know whether to speak or stay silent. Her heart was racing. Richard looked around at the team. Sometimes we forget that character matters more than rules, that people matter more than protocol. He paused. Then he looked back at Emily. "Come with me," he said. "We need to talk." Emily stood up slowly, still unsure of what all this meant. As they left the room, hushed whispers filled the office. No one knew what would happen next, including Emily. Emily followed Richard into his office, her mind racing. The door shut behind them with a soft click. Richard motioned for her to sit, then took a seat behind his large, polished desk. He looked at her for a moment, as if deciding what to say. "I owe you an apology," he began, his voice steady but sincere. "Yesterday, I was in a rush. I didn't see who helped me, I just knew someone did. But today, I realized something." He paused, staring at his desk as if gathering his thoughts. "I fired you for being late, but I don't know how to explain it. In this company, we have rules, yes, but we also have to remember why those rules exist. They're meant to help, not hurt." Emily couldn't find her voice. She sat there, unsure of whether to be angry or thankful. "I could just give you your job back," Richard said, leaning forward slightly. "But that would be too simple. You deserve more than just a second chance. I've seen your character, and that's worth far more than a position at this company." He stood and walked over to the window, looking out at the city below. The tension in the room thickened. "Here's what I'm offering," Richard continued. "I want you to be part of something bigger, not just an employee, but a leader. There's a project I've been working on, something that could change the future of this company, and I want you to lead it." Emily blinked in disbelief. This wasn't what she expected at all. Was he serious? One moment she was fired and the next he was offering her a leadership role? "I don't know what to say," she finally whispered. This feels unreal." Richard turned around, a soft smile playing on his lips. "It's real, and this is a chance for you to show the world what you're really capable of. I've been running this company for years, but I've realized maybe it's time for a change. I need someone who sees things differently, someone who values people." Emily stood up, her legs still shaky, but her heart beating faster with every word he spoke. "I need some time to think," she said quietly. "This is a lot to process." Richard nodded. "Take all the time you need, but don't wait too long. The opportunity might not be here forever." As Emily left his office, her mind was in a whirlwind. She had come to work that morning just trying to get through the day, never imagining that a simple act of kindness would lead her here. She had no idea what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she had a chance to shape it. Emily stepped out of Richard's office, her mind still buzzing. She wandered through the office floor, barely aware of the colleagues who whispered behind their desks, their eyes darting to her as she passed. The weight of Richard's words hung heavily in the air. She was being offered the chance of a lifetime, but she couldn't shake the uncertainty that gripped her. She found a quiet corner near the break room, where she sat down, staring blankly at the wall. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from her best friend. "Anna, how's it going? You okay?" Emily stared at the message for a long time, feeling the pressure building up. She quickly typed a reply. "I don't know. I'm still processing everything. I don't know if I'm ready for this." Anna replied almost immediately, "You've got this, Em. You've always had it in you. But if you need time to think, take it. You don't have to make a decision now." Emily took a deep breath and leaned back in her chair. She felt torn. On one hand, she had the safety of a job she was familiar with, a place where she was just another cog in the machine. On the other, Richard's offer was a chance to prove herself, to do something that could truly make a difference. It was everything she had ever wanted, but at the same time, it was terrifying. After a few more minutes of reflection, Emily stood up and made her way back to Richard's office. The door was still closed, but she knocked lightly, unsure of what she was about to say. "Come in," Richard's voice called from inside. Emily stepped in, her heart racing once more. "I've thought about it," she said, her voice steady but unsure. "I'm honored by your offer, but I need more time. I don't know if I'm the right person for such a big responsibility." Richard looked at her thoughtfully for a long moment. "Take all the time you need, Emily. But remember, sometimes it's the fear that holds us back from becoming who we're meant to be." With those words, Richard stood up, walked over to the door, and opened it for her. Emily hesitated for a moment before walking out, the uncertainty still clouding her mind. As she left the building, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just taken a turn she wasn't sure she was ready for. But for the first time, she was also filled with a glimmer of hope and the faintest sense that maybe, just maybe, this was her moment. The next day, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of confusion. She had spent the entire night thinking about Richard's offer, but when she woke up, she still didn't have an answer. The opportunity was right in front of her, but the cost felt so high. Could she really step into such a role? As she arrived at the office, she noticed a notice posted on the bulletin board. "Important meeting this afternoon with the CEO and leadership team." Those words hung in the air, a constant reminder of the decision she had to make. Emily felt like she was standing at a crossroads, one path leading to safety, the other to risk. As she was lost in thought, Anna called. "Hey, how's it going?" Anna's voice came through the phone. "You remember your important meeting with him today, right? Have you made up your mind yet?" Emily sighed, looking toward Richard's office door. where light streamed through the crack. "Not yet. I'm still not sure what to do. He offered me the opportunity, but I'm scared I'm not enough." "Emily, you helped him when no one else did, right? That's a quality not many people have. If you don't try, you'll never know if you could have done it. Don't let fear stop you." Emily felt a little relief hearing Anna's words. Her friend was right, but acting on it was a whole different story. Finally, Emily decided to walk into Richard's office, where everything would be decided. Richard stood behind his desk, looking at her with a patient but expectant gaze. "Have you made a decision?" he asked, his voice calm yet strong. ****. Emily nodded, her heart pounding. She had to make a choice. "I'll accept your offer, but I need more training. I can't just jump in without fully understanding the company, the project, and everything involved." Richard smiled, his eyes softening. "You've made a wise choice. Training will start immediately. I believe you can do this." Emily felt a wave of confidence rise within her, though the anxiety wasn't fully gone. But one thing was clear. This was a turning point in her life, and she couldn't let it slip away. As she returned to her desk, congratulations from her coworkers filled the air. But no one knew that in her heart, things were still unclear. Emily wasn't just facing a new job. She was facing herself. Could she truly live up to this new role? Could she prove she was worthy of the trust Richard had placed in her? The days following Emily's decision were a blur. She was thrust into a whirlwind of meetings, training sessions, and unfamiliar responsibilities. Richard kept his word and personally mentored her through the initial steps of the new project. Emily's mind raced, trying to absorb everything at once. The pressure was mounting, and she felt the weight of the expectations on her shoulders. Despite the intense training, there were moments when she doubted herself. She found herself staring at her computer screen for hours, unsure of how to approach tasks that once seemed so simple. The staff she was now working with treated her with a mixture of awe and skepticism. They were used to a certain way of doing things, and Emily's fresh approach didn't always sit well with them. One afternoon, as she sat alone in the conference room, reviewing the latest project data, Richard came in. He took a seat across from her and studied her for a moment. "How are you doing?" he asked, his voice gentle but firm. Emily paused before answering. She wanted to be honest, but she didn't want to appear weak. "It's harder than I thought. I feel like I'm failing." Richard leaned forward, his expression serious. "Failure isn't the problem. It's how you deal with it. The real test isn't whether you stumble, but whether you get back up. This role isn't just about leading a team. It's about leading yourself through challenges, even when it feels impossible." Emily nodded, grateful for his words, but the doubt lingered. Later that night, as she sat in her apartment, she found herself staring at the same message from Anna that she had received days ago. "You've got this, Em. Don't let fear stop you." It felt like a lifetime ago when Anna had first sent that text, but it resonated even more now. Emily realized that Anna was right. Fear had always been there, lurking in the background, telling her she wasn't enough. But maybe, just maybe, she needed to learn how to use that fear to drive her forward. The next morning, Emily arrived at the office early. She wanted to prove to herself that she could do this. She immediately got to work, revising the project plans and meeting with the team. As she spoke up more, sharing her ideas and vision, the atmosphere in the room began to shift. At first, her colleagues were hesitant, but soon they started to warm up to her suggestions. There was a sense of change in the air. By the end of the week, Emily had successfully pitched a new approach to the project that was well received by the leadership team. Richard gave her a rare smile of approval, but Emily knew this was just the beginning. As she left the office that evening, she felt a sense of accomplishment she hadn't felt in a long time. But deep down, she knew there were more challenges ahead. The fear wasn't gone, but it had become a part of her journey. She had learned that the real victory wasn't in avoiding failure. It was in the courage to keep going despite it. Later that night, Emily received a message from Richard. "You're doing great, Emily. Keep pushing forward. You're not just the future of this company, you're the future of yourself." Emily smiled to herself. She wasn't sure where this journey would lead, but for the first time, she believed in her own potential. She was ready for whatever came next. The weeks turned into months, and Emily continued to grow into her role. The once overwhelming pressure of leadership became part of her routine. Each project she took on, she approached with more confidence, and the team began to see her as a capable and strong leader. Emily learned to trust her instincts, and with Richard's guidance, she made bold decisions that helped turn the company's future in a new direction. Richard, who had once been a distant figure in Emily's eyes, became a mentor and a friend. His belief in her never wavered, and he continued to challenge her, pushing her beyond what she thought were her limits. There were still moments of doubt, of course, but Emily had learned to embrace them. She knew fear was part of the journey, and instead of letting it hold her back, she used it as fuel to drive herself forward. One day, after a major presentation that had impressed clients and investors alike, Richard called Emily into his office. "You've done it," he said, his voice full of pride. "This project is a success because of you. I knew I made the right choice when I offered you this position." Emily smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. The nervous young woman who had first walked into his office, unsure of herself, had transformed into someone who had earned her place at the table. "Thank you," Emily replied. "I couldn't have done it without your support. But I think I've finally realized something. I didn't just need your belief in me. I needed to believe in myself." Richard chuckled softly. "That's the secret, Emily. The moment you believe in yourself, that's when everything changes." The next day, Richard called an all-staff meeting. As Emily stood beside him, looking out at the team she had grown with, she realized just how far she had come. She was no longer just the girl who had helped a man who had fallen. She was the woman who had taken that chance, overcome her doubts, and proved that sometimes the greatest success comes not from avoiding failure, but from rising after it. As Richard finished his speech and turned to her, he smiled. "Emily, I think it's time for you to take the next step, to lead this company into the future." And with that, Emily stepped into her new role as CEO, knowing that the real journey was only just beginning.